So welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Fork Friday. That's our review of the week. How's your trading week been? I hope it's been good. Let's start sharing screen. We've got some good charts to go through. Thank you very much for submitting those. It helps us all. So we don't usually look at trades. We'll look at some back testing, but I will go to the charts that have been submitted first of all. What have I called it? Fork Friday charts, oddly enough. So USD CAD, GBP ORD. I'll save those. I know it's 3 p.m. I've lost charts now. Someone popping up, not looking at the chats. Fork Friday. Let's start with this one. Yeah, right. We had, so we're going to look at Euro GBP. I've taken people's names off because some people do or don't like being mentioned, which is absolutely fine. So big shout out to you all for submitting charts, and keep going with that. Anything on fibs, trend lines, where the trade reversed, whether you did or didn't get in, again, it's great for all of us to learn. So Euro GBP on the 1 minute chart, you can see that red orangey pitchfork. This is the entry trend line. That pale orange is the 62 EMA, the current trend in the market, our rolling line of support and resistance that's so powerful. And you've got quarter hit theory here. So an absolutely beautiful trade entry, and a good little lesson here. This person's put an alert on the trend line for exit. So they're staying in whilst price is still buying and it's above the trend line. And as soon as it sets off the alert, they'll have a look to see if it's failing down, dropping down, break and retest to the, excuse me, I'm so sorry, a break and a retest to the trend line, in which case they'll probably consider coming out of the trade. But hopefully that wouldn't be till further up here. Although Euro GBP is a slower pair, I think that may have only done about 15 pips, that one, can't remember. So it had a good break and a retest twice. Well, more than that, actually, off quarter theory. 1, 2, 3. Had a big break and retest off the trend line, but too far back in our time scale for it to count for us. But then it does it again. Drops through the, I can't see, yeah, that says 10 o'clock. I think that must be UK time. So there's your hourly candle fake out. And then this person has got in, they've either got in here or here, and then they're just following it up. So simple as that, really. Perfect confirmations, pitchfork touch, which is mandatory, must have that. The break and the retest of the quarter theory is another one. That's 2. The above the 62.3 EMA, that's check number 3, and a break and a retest, but not quite back to the pitchfork, but it doesn't matter. You can see quite clearly it's robust enough in its upward trend. So a very nice trade setup there. ORD NZD, very similar pair, as we know, similar currencies. So what have we got here? We've got, I presume, yes, it's a pitchfork, the dotted, big dotted yellow line. The smaller dotted orange one is quarter theory. This is our orange 62 EMA. This is why I like us all to conform to the colours Chance uses, because then we are all looking at the same things, particularly if we submit them to him on his Monday night sessions, where, you know, he's the professional trader. He goes through a deep dive analysis of everybody's trades. So it's really good. And if your ego can take it, then it's best to send in the cock-ups, because he's just so brilliant. You know, I mean, what's the point of sending in brilliant charts to him, really? I haven't sent one in for a while, but sometimes we get tired and distracted, or we've seen the wrong thing, or a trade just doesn't go the right way, or we've been over trading. There's no shame in it. He doesn't, you know, he said you'll never be perfect as a Forex trader. It's not that kind of art. The Forex charts don't allow for perfection, and that's what makes them so interesting. If you're a salesman, an A-type, a dynamic type, I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's just different personality types where you can get bored easily. I think that's why, even though the process is repetitive, that's why we never get bored if we're that type of personality, because the charts are ever changing like the oceans. There's always something different every day. And if you're a B-type personality, then the process will greatly appeal to you because it's patterns and it's repetitions, and it's not random. So what have we got here? We've been waiting for a sell. We've got a break and a retest of quarter theory once, twice, and then down, and then a break and a retest back just probably about a pip. We'd consider that a touch back to the pitchfork. And then although the 62's leveled off there, I presume it then went for the sell. So they're showing a very nice break and a retest, 850 to 9. Yeah, so that's 9, nearly 10 pips there. So a nice setup on the sell there. And then before we go into these other two, USD, Euro NZD, a buy. This one's been very nicely marked up to tell the story. Super trade, 3-to-1 risk to reward, 10 pip stop loss. Really fantastic. That's what I love about this strategy. This person's asking, could they have been bolder? Could they have had the 50 pips? So let's talk about that. This was their entry. We'll talk about that. So let's just break down what they've got here. A break and a retest of the trend line. So here, going to the upside. So they've drawn their upward trend. They want that trend to do that. Break and retest there. This is the downward trend, and you can see it broke the downward trend. So that's what they mean by the break and the retest. Perfect back to the 62. They can see their 62 is coming up. Break and retest of pitchfork by 10 pips. There's their pitchfork going up here. So very nice break and a retest. I've got a keen eye on that. It's above quarter theory, which is this line here. Correct. Brilliant. You can see the rejection there of the quarter theory. Above the 62 when they entered. So they're talking about this candle here. Entered on the blue candle up, went 8 pips into drawdown. So that's this bit here, I think. So what we discussed, actually I remember discussing that with the person afterwards, is that if they looked at that blue candle, its body, it only straddled the 62. Its body didn't close above. It wasn't that big a volume candle. And then you had a little engulfing red candle back. So that sell candle engulfed that previous blue candle, and there's the drawdown, the stall out, and then it takes off, and then another sell candle, but the body only touches the 62. So the better entry to have avoided, or only have got 1 pip drawdown here, would have been there. But all in all, a superb trade. Now, could they have been bolder? So the trade touches the 62. There's a nice big gap, similar to when we look at the Bollinger Bands, and we measure, when we're doing Les's trading, we measure the gap between the candles and the EMA or to the Bollinger Band. This is really telling you a similar story, that's the same thing visually, really, the distance between the candles and the moving average. We're using the 62, and on Les's they're using the 20 on the 5 for 5 and the 5 for 3. So it shoots straight up to the 50 pips. Big gap, and then it comes straight back down, touches the 62. I don't know what it went on to do afterwards. That's quarter theory. It does seem to have strong momentum upwards. There are 2 old pitchforks there. You can see it stalling out on those old pitchforks and rejecting off the quarter theory. Well, I think we're back to that story about they've got 30 pips, not 50. The professional trader, the multimillionaire, Chance told the story where he said often people walk away with nothing because they want to get 100% of a trade instead of accepting and be happy with the 60 or 70. So a 3-to-1 return, extremely good. Maybe you could have stayed in because of that gap and a strong upward momentum. But once it started to draw back, and you're back at that same level, I would have had my horizontal line running across, and I would have been getting a bit nervous at that point. He says he doesn't like to give up more than 50%. That's how, think about how much you're prepared to retrace. So are you prepared to retrace back to 15 pips, give up 15 pips? It did then take off again and burst through. So given you were at that level, if you'd drawn a horizontal line, you might have said to yourself, okay, then I'll just see what it does here. And then you would have felt comfortable that it did that. But given that fast money secure the bag is what Chance always says, then certainly at 5-to-1, I would have pressed the close button. And you can see, I presume that's another pitchfork up there, because 5-to-1 in what would have that been? I don't know. Is that 45 minutes? No more than an hour, maybe 60 candles, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, probably an hour. Then back to about 25, 27 pips, and then back up to quarter theory. So certainly out at the quarter theory, which would have been what, 35 or something. So it's literally a question of horizontal lines, and exactly right, keeping your percentage in mind and your ratio in mind, and that you've achieved your daily goal, trade goal, you've smashed your daily goal. Anything else is a wonderful bonus there. So a great trade, that one. USD CAD for a buy. So this, oh, did I not have the US, setting up analysis. So here we have someone thinking about the buy, but they're not sure about it yet. They think it's going to do that 10 pip. They're waiting for the no retest, no entry. They're waiting for the retest off the pitchfork and go. They've put their slider bar on. Again, nice setup. They've got the quarter theory below the pitchfork. They can cover that with a 10 pip stop loss, 20 pip gain. Or it might be slightly more than that. So downward trend. Can't see any timings on this. 15. Can't quite read it. Doesn't really matter. So we haven't. So we've got a break. We've got the downward. This might have been a 15-minute trend line down. They've got good touches to both sides coming down here. So they can see it's broken there. Price has come up and the 62 is curling up in their favor. So they're going to have the 62, the quarter theory and the pitchfork all within price and the stop loss, which is what we want, the three confirmations sitting in that red box tightly together. So they're saying to themselves, okay, I now need, I've got the pitchfork touch 1, I need the break and the retest 2, and then they've got up, they're up above quarter theory 3 and the 62, which will give them 4 confirmations. So that's their setup they're looking at, and then this is how it plays out. So they get that lovely break and retest to the pitchfork. The 62 has curled up. I presume they haven't said exactly where they got in. Now you see, I would like to think, I'm not always perfect, that I probably wouldn't have got in on these, because it's that same issue of straddling the candles. And I wouldn't want to get caught like I did the other day. I don't get caught like that very often. Can't remember the last time, apart from yesterday or the day before. Between that pitchfork and quarter theory, that's the danger, that price dips back into that, before it's forced to make a decision, because once it's in that area, it's then a 50-50 trade. So my perfect entry would have been here, this green candle here, where it is above the red box and it's just above that green one there. So then it does that, and then it dips down and it carries on. USD CAD, nice upward trend, so it easily does the 20 pips. So they were waiting for that break and retest there, and they've had break of trends as their, so they've put their momentum trend, trade trend there and here to make sure it gets broken. I don't know if that's a 15-minute one. That's obviously a 1-minute one. So they can see that's clearly happened, and it didn't come back. You didn't get a break and a retest of quarter theory. It doesn't matter, because you've got the break, 10 pip break and retest off the pitchfork. You've got it above the 62. You've got your red box with the 62, the pitchfork and the quarter theory. So very, very nice trade there. Don't know how long that took. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that took nearly 4 hours. So as we found this week, there was quite a lot of stall out and slower moving. Also, if you note, USD CAD, the major Forex pair for the New York session, the yellow is London, and that first hour will be, oh, maybe the colours are a bit different, because if this is UK, can't quite work the time out because that says definitely 1800 down there. Close of, yeah, I can't quite work out whether they've got the same thing as me, because normally I'd say that's New York crossover and then it's starting to move there. So very nice setup on the USD. Really appreciate the two charts showing a setup and the actual move of the trade. And then this one from the same person was a really great entry. I was very super pleased to see this one. So this is GA, very fast pair, and it illustrates beautifully that sometimes, and chance goes through this quite a lot, that trades don't always take off in the setup. Even the first time you could be stopped out, the second time it could be break even, the third time it can fail and go nowhere. But you can see the entries, and then the third time, as you can see here, bump, you know, it takes off. Now, they have said to me they were on demo for this. This wasn't a real trade, but it does show you exactly the principle of being aggressive in your live trading, and not to think just because the trade setup has failed that it isn't going to take off for you. You can't, as Chance says, you can't tell in the markets, and he doesn't know why it didn't take off there, but it did take off here. He doesn't know either. So this person says 2 possible entries, both made quarter theory. So that's here, 1, 2. They made, and there's the pitchfork. Here's our upward. There's our trade trend, and then our entry trend line. And then once they're in the trade at quarter theory, that's quite a nice touch. This might help the other person talking about, could I have got 50 pips? Because at the peak there, they've put that on to see what happens in the reversal below the pitchfork for a sell, which is quite nice. Because as we know, price always moves between major levels. I posted a setup for a sell, small sell on CAD JPY today, and sure enough, it did 13 pips down to finish the end of a C to D leg down to quarter theory. And that, because as we know, that's where the banks all do their stop losses, these 50 pip, 250 pip, you know, big, and they round it up at 5s and 0s and majors, ones. So just shows we should keep taking opportunities even if 1, 2, and 3 don't perform. So absolutely, because we can see price got above the 62. It got above again, but only a similar slight slightly more, and this is a very fast pair, remember, so this is over, I think that says 9 and 10 in the morning up until that says 2, that's about 3 p.m. So this is London. Maybe they've got their sessions colours different to mine because I have Tokyo as green and London yellow. I can't quite work that out. I think this, I'm presuming this must be London, UK time. So then it takes off again, it drops down to quarter 3. So 1, 2, 3, 3 lovely rejections off quarter theory. Price doesn't want to break back down. It's respecting the 1 minute trend, but it doesn't take off until this point here. So it never comes and gives you a touch of the pitchfork, does it? It's quarter theory that's holding this, and then it decides to do its nearly 50 pip move because it is GA up to there. So a really lovely look at keeping an eye on what you think the momentum is doing in the market. You've got upward pitchforks, it's obviously a buy scan, and not getting bored with it or saying, oh, this is just going nowhere today, because it is going somewhere, and it pings off there for a beautiful 50 pips. And then as chance does, taking a trade, working it across the pitchforks. So a 10 pip break and retest back to the pitchfork below the 62, and a very nice entry on this red candle here, or even that top red one there, down to there, retracing what, 10 pips or more, but it's a fast pair, and then it's obviously working its way down, and it's under the 62 as well. So you should be looking for it to come back as it's GA back to that quarter theory there, the previous lines of support and resistance. So a very nice trade there. So those were the charts that I submitted. I'll just see if there's anything in the chat. Hello, hello, Steph the Mole. That's an in-joke, not being rude. He doesn't mind, my little chum. So now I wanted to have a look at, unless anyone's got anything you want to discuss particularly. I'm trying to remember some of the ones from the week. Where are we on time? So I can open it up for chat. Talk about what you want. That was something I posted earlier, obviously didn't like it, and it's just stalled out. That was a sell trade idea. It had the, but it's Friday afternoon, stall out. This is what sometimes happens in the market, breaking a retest of 11 pips there, back to the 62, a downward trend. So breaking a retest of the pitchfork, and there's the orange, I don't know why I've got that on. Oh. Seem to have on an extra thick line there. Oh, it's gone now. But it then, you know, just stalls out. Didn't like that, but it does seem to be coming down now. But it's Friday afternoon, so that trade idea didn't really take off. So I'm going to shut down. I don't think I had any others to discuss on USD Chef. I know we had a scan. Recent scan, didn't we? But you can see it's not really doing anything much at the moment. It's just stalled out all the way along quarter theory, and it's still pushing it down. So it may well even come out to the extensions because it's not really liking that scan at the moment. That's USD Chef. Euro USD. I know we were following. It's a bit slow loading. I don't know why that's being so slow. Is that trading view glitching on me? Try another one. Try Euro NZD. So that was an upward scan, upward trend line, pitchfork quarter theory, the 62 crossing above, and in above the 62, and that just gave you the 20 pips. So that might be worth, quite nice sometimes to replay, as you can see it setting up. See how price plays out. So this is coming into London about an hour in. Price has been dropping. So I presume that's pre-London, which is what Tokyo usually does. Bit of a fake out before London. So price comes down, the 62 crosses down. You could be thinking it's still selling. And then it suddenly decides that it's going to come up and it doesn't want to sell. So it follows along the 62 and the quarter theory. This is just after the hour, 9 AM UK time for London. So it's a fast pair, come very quickly out of that price trap. Does a little dip down, the break, there's your break and retest on this one, exactly back to the pitchfork. So it gave us a break and a retest, like the other ones just went back to quarter theory. That's done 8 pips, so you are counting that as your break and retest. I know some of them do, some of them don't. The ones we've just looked at only went back to quarter theory, just the way it is. And then here we've got the break and the retest of the pitchfork. You've got your doji candle there, very important because that's your indecision candle, and there is your trade entry on that blue candle there after that doji one there. And let's see what happens. And it plays out very nicely. The 62 actually crosses. Stays above the 62. And now it starts to drop. So how many pips is that? That is 25 pips exactly. And then you can see the stalling out here and then it quickly dropping again. So you have to make a decision round about this point whether you're going for your daily goal that quickly, because that only took 38 minutes. So you've got your daily goal achieved in 38 minutes, or were you trying to be greedy and think, well, it's the yen, I'll see if it's going to come up another 24 pips, 22 pips up to that quarter theory. Well, the whole 50 pip move, sorry, that's 50 pips, so just shy of the 50 pips. And then, boom, it starts to come down, right back down. So this is an instance, isn't it, where I know it's so easy in retrospect to grab your 25 pips, or you're hanging on thinking, is it going to stall out and then go again? But obviously you've got to get out here once you see that 62 curling downwards, because you've already given up that's giving up about 10 pips off that 25. And then you do get a few more up there, but who wants to sit in that many hours? Because that's another 2 hours for 5 pips. No, thank you very much. And then down again, and we did get it because this is a fast pair. So in other times it would have gone the 50 pips, but we have had a few days this week, haven't we, of a lot of this stalling out. Even GCAD did it, which I don't think I've ever seen before. So that's EN. Oh, why trading views being slow? Stop it. Get rid of that one while we're here. And close that one down. CAD JPY we've just spoken about, and in fact it's gone even lower, right down to the extensions of that pitchfork. So that will be one for us for next week. From that pitchfork on the 10th of July. That's on the hourly. So we'll see what happens with marking that up next week. Sorry, that's on the 15-minute. That's a 15-minute trend line. That green one, 15-minute trend line. And that's a very slow pair as well. So I hope the extensions, you can see it's wicked off there. Hope the extensions will hold that. And that 62 is leveling off. And then we should be able to buy that next week. Well, I mean, still got the end of today with JPY, but you know, most of us don't do a lot of trading Friday night. Oh, this was, I don't know why my divergence indicator stopped working. This was me loading up our other charts. So I'm going to close that. Euro Ord. This scanner point redrew. So this isn't really back testing the week. This is where are we with it at the moment. So I redrew the correct scanner entry and the scanner take profit one because this is a sharp. So we need to wait for it to be 50% and it's 60 pips. So you can take quarter theory trades on this. So you can take one at this point, but only for a sell. And what we want is 50% between the second entry, which is that one that I put on, and that, so that's 61. So 30 pips down brings you to hopefully round about quarter theory. So that once it's at quarter theory, it'll be confirmed as a shark for a sell, 60 pip leg. So we can look at that for, I'll just put a brush mark on there. We can look at that for selling. Next week, depending on the news. I haven't looked at the news for next week. So that's Euro Ord. Euro USD. I don't know why this trading view is being annoying, and I couldn't get this to stream live either. I wonder if I ought to just close that. Would that help? Let's try and load the chart again. Euro USD. Close that one. So I know quite a few of us took trades on this in the week. Right, that's the new scan, 13th of August. So I'm sure, I can't remember exactly what, some of us would have been trading on the buy. And there is your, hello, that looks off. It's a bit strange. Why have I got that off? Hang on a minute. Strange. Let me just correct that. It's always worth, oh, that's slipped. Always worth checking what you're doing, because for some reason I must have not had it locked on, and maybe it was when I redrew the, I don't know whether I redrew a D point or what, but on this one, something's gone wrong on it. Right, sorry about that, guys. Just get that back on there. Check that D point's all right. Perfect. Right, so some of us might have been trading the buy on this, and this is to show you, just see if I can get the whole thing in. So there's your Elliott wave. So you've got, and I'm never very good at always working out where they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I presume it's 1, 2. Now I can't quite tell because of all that stall out. Chances obviously better at this than me, but you'll see these little retraces of the reversals on the Elliott wave, and that's what gives you the name of the patterns, because they have different angles, like a 61.8 or whatever. That's what you're looking at if you look in this FRX 400 series. If you want to know more about it, Chris Terry goes through it in beautiful detail. So it's something like 1, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but sometimes they can be 7, so that could be one of the reversals. I can't see it as clearly as he can, but that's an Elliott wave completed, and then it does the reversal back down, obviously. So what have we got at the moment? We have got it a big break and retest back to there, 2 rejections off, still looking like it's going up, but obviously we're only taking sells on this. We're only taking sells, so we'll look at that one next week. Any others that I want to talk about that we took trades off? I can remember USD CAD. I know Connor had a very good GJ trade, and I don't know if I've got that one. Let's have a look on the 15 minutes. So USD CAD gave us what last week? Didn't give us 13th of August, yesterday. Didn't give us a break and a retest back to the pitchfork or quarter theory. It's rejected off an old pitchfork there perfectly. I'll show you that. There. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. How it respects these old pitchforks, and it's wicking off one there. Let's come to the 1 minute. So that might be something we could look at. Have a look at how many trades you can get off a scan. Perhaps we need to look at one that's completed more than this one though. So trades off this scan so far, it didn't give you that clear break and retest back to the pitchfork. It's done something different, which sometimes they do. So it's just gone sort of straight up, hasn't it, to the next pitchfork. Sometimes I suppose news can affect it. So no trade for us here because we didn't have a break and a retest. In fact, we've got to wait to the median line before we can sell this. So we're only looking for buys. So on this one, we're only looking for buys. So the only time you're going to get a trade actually is where it is now, because you've got that quarter theory right in your way, which is only probably going to be 8 or 10 pips. I'll measure it in a minute. So price comes right up there, break and retest back to the pitchfork. We've got quarter theory acting as a brick wall. It comes down and tests the 15 minutes, which we know it often does. And then, in fact, it's although I don't recommend getting into trades this time of day, and on a Friday, but actually that's doing the break and retest back to the 62 and carrying on up. So that looks to me like, how many pips has it done? Oh, it's done 21 already up there. So it might consolidate now, and your gap between the pitchfork and the quarter theory is only 10 pips, and that's why you wouldn't want to get into the trade once it's broken and retested the pitchfork back to the 62, because you just got no room to breathe on getting any profit out. It could stay in that area there. So it then just did one big move up, didn't it? Didn't really give us a lot of warning. So it did a thrust up there. So you've got a thrust, that's not quite, is it? I think that's an engulfing candle. That's quite wicky on that blue one. So break into retest back and then go, and it's done the 20 pips. And now it looks like it's just going to consolidate along here. Very, very little volume in the candles, if you notice, coming back to the quarter theory. So that's USD CAD. I'm just wondering if we could find one where we could look at how many trades we can get off one scan. GU, let's have a look at that. That hasn't completed. So I'll find one that has. Maybe we could look at a previous one. Oh, that didn't go down all the way either, did it, that one? That's a bit difficult even for me to decipher where the D points are. Oh, it's gone up to there. So if I hide that one and hide that one, I can put them back on later. And hide that one. Let's bring that one up. See what we've got here. Right, so off this scan here, C to D leg, so we're looking to see how many trades we could have got off this scan. Hide that one. We don't need to look at that. Take that off. Come down to the 1 minute. And then see if we can let us go back into replay. Might have to go on the 5 minute. See how far back it was, I can't remember. Right, that's stopped, so I need the 5 minutes. And we'll put it in replay, see if we can look at how many scans. So here's the D point. D point scan, it's a buy scan. We've only got, right, okay, so we have got a big enough scan that we can take buys or sells. It's over 60 pips per leg. The bigger the scan, the stronger. So technically, where's my, so my quarter theory should be showing then. So I've got that 3-in-1 on. Strange that it's not showing up. Why isn't quarter theory coming on then? Oh, there it is. Oh, because it's outside of price. Sorry, quarter theory only works 200 pips either side of price, so that's why we can't see it down here. I'd have to draw the lines on, and I'm never very good at getting the numbers right on that, so I'll have to 128, 129, 1285. So just put a couple of lines on. Horizontal line, settings, orange. One, 2, 8, 1, 2, 7, 5. Settings. No. 1, 2, 7, 5. 1, 2, 7. One, 2, 6, 5. One, 2, 7. And nearly there. Clone again. 6, 5, 600. 6,000. Oh, better do one more clone. 5, 5. Settings. That's it. So put our replay mode on. Replay. Back to the D point. So we can look for buys or sells. I'm on 5 minute, not the 1 minute. Oh, that's strange. It's come on now. I thought it was meant to work outside of price. Oh, anyway, not quite sure. So come to the D point, doesn't matter. I just overlaid it a bit. So we're at the D point. So how many trades can we take? And we need a pitchfork touch and a break and a retest. So it's coming off the D point, hasn't given us a retest. Goes straight on up to quarter theory. Let's see if I can make that a bit bigger. So we can take quarter theory trades, but we wouldn't look for a sell because it's above the 62. We haven't got 3 confirmations. So even though we can work without a pitchfork touch, we've got the 62 saying buy, even though quarter theory is saying sell. So that doesn't, we can't get any further with that as a trade idea. Comes up and rejects off it again. 62 carries on up. Got a good potential up here. Doesn't do that, it fails, and if price obviously fails to meet the next major level, it will come down to the previous major level, or either way. So quarter theory now saying sell, and the 62 saying sell. So could we take a trade here? Let's see if it gives us a retest. It does give us a retest, and it's under the 62. And you've got a break of a trend there. So I would suggest that is one trade potential here. Let's see what happens. Goes back up again, didn't like it. So how much was that? A break and a retest. Well, it was a full 20 pips. So that did do 20 pips there. I'm on the 5-minute, remember. So you did get a trade there. That did give you 20 pips after that break and retest below the 62 in the quarter theory. So that's definitely one trade you could have had there. Then we go again. 2 rejections off quarter theory and the 62 curling up. Comes to test the 15-minute. Comes right up to one of our favorite areas, quarter theory and pitchfork together, and rejects it. So both saying sell, but the 62 saying buy. So no trade for us at the moment until that 62 curls round in our direction. Carries on up. So we're thinking, okay, well here we've got a buy then. Let's see if it plays out, because we need, what do we need? We've had all that stall out on quarter theory, price trap there. So we need a break and a retest to be clear of that price trap, and we want the 62 coming up if we had our slider bar in this area with our red box covering us between entry, having the 62, the quarter theory and the pitchfork all within the same area. So it gives us a break and a retest of 12 pips. We've got the 62 crossing up there. And we've got price carrying on up, and we've got the pitchfork, so your slider bar would cover you. So we've got a buy there. Trade number 2. Comes back down, respects the 62 and the pitchfork, but look at this price trap going on. How many pips was that from there to there? 18, just about your 20. Remember, I'm on the 5-minute. Carries on, touches quarter theory. This is end of markets. There's your spread and swaps for the close of market day. So that's what's happening there. So one trade there. I'm going to take that as a trade up to that level there. Close of market, don't trade while it's in that black zone. Never trade those 2 hours on this strategy. So, okay, it's still above. We've got that saying buy, we've got that saying sell, quarter theory saying sell. So no trade at the moment. Test the 62, open of Tokyo, it's dropping right back down into our price trap area, which we don't like trading in. And then it says, okay, I'll give you a break and a retest there of 27 pips, but no trade because of the price trap, the very fast drops. So 62's on sell, you're in the price trap. There's no way you could have caught that, because you'd be waiting for a break and a retest. It wouldn't have been a good entry. So it comes up into this price trap now. And we've got how many pips here? 32 pips. So that, again, it flew back up the other way above the 62 and right back down again. I honestly don't think you could have caught that as a trade because of that straight candle. It could well have been some kind of news at that hour. And it was below the 62, then it suddenly shot up and you didn't get a clear break and retest. It just went boom, didn't it? Down and then boom. I don't think I would have caught that one. So it's just in Tokyo, hugging along the 62. I bet it'll stay in this price trap for a while. So again, how do you decide on a trade here? You don't have clean. That's a break and a retest for the sell, but it didn't do that. It just went up to the quarter theory into London for a fake out for the buy. But then here we're getting much better evidence for a sell. We've got the 62 pointing down our way. We're in the open of London, the first hour when it moves. We've had a 27 pips, that is, but it's shot straight down, and you wouldn't want to get in this area here because of that price trap. But once it's cleared this area, you're good to go anywhere on here. So I definitely would have had my eye on that candle there for a sell. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm wrong. Gone right back up there. So that's a difficult one. I don't know what news has happened, but you've had the break and the retest, but maybe it's because it's straddling the quarter theory. Maybe that's a lesson in saying it needs a cleaner break, but let me look at that. Maybe it's just one of those things. Let me look at that. I need to look at how many pips that is from quarter theory to there. Well, you see, it gave you a good break and a retest. It's done one break and retest there and a break and a retest, and it's below the 62. But it suddenly shoots up and the 62 curls back above. So that one could have caught us out quite easily, in which case you would have had to have got out with sludge or some drawdown, because that's not an easy one, because you had confirmations and it moved fast. But I am on the 5 minute. We might have seen it clearer on the 1 minute. So then it carries on buying up out of this price trap. I can't see a trade there that I would have got into because that's 24 pips, but it was a big break and retest there. I wouldn't want to get in there because of the quarter theory. So let's see what happens up here. So a break and a retest, but in our price trap again, very well, it's not that fast to pair, is it? But it's into New York now, and it's just done some straight up candles, but without giving us an upward break and retest. So not an easy one. And then it carries on respecting the 62. Let's see what it does for the rest of the day. Bit of consolidation going on there. So I wouldn't have found any trades there. I think that one would have caught us out. I'm going to take that one off for the moment. And then what have we got going on here? We've got selling on the 62, very nice quarter theory and pitchfork together. A nice break and a retest, and it's going to break through the 15 minute. So again, that's 22 pips. You could argue it's similar to this, but this time maybe it'll take off. So let's see what happens. So it does come up. No, it goes up again quite a lot. And that's into London. So let me get my arrow. So I think it's because of the quarter theory and the pitchfork being quite close together, quite difficult to get your exact touch to get, would you have got You see how many that is there. From there, that was 12 pips break and retest, because remember I'm on the 5 minute. You're below the quarter theory and the pitchfork, so I think 24 pips. I think you could have got on the 1 minute, you would have found an entry there for a trade for 20 pips. Then it goes back up above the 62 and quarter theory. And how many pips is that from above the 62 up to there? 35. So I think that's better on the candles. So some stall outs, a retest stall out. You'd have to come in as candles. That's a 5 minute candle, remember. So I think you've got another trade here for 20 pips. So break and retest back above the quarter theory, above the 62 on a buy candle there. That gave you at least 20, that was up to 35 pips. And then it comes back down, testing down again, break and retest. And that is a break and retest of 15 pips. So we've got downward curling 62. So this is looking very good for a sell. And yeah, we've got a really nice move coming up here. So here is another entry, which is break and retest of pitchfork and quarter theory under the 62. The 62 coming out of that price trap. So your entry is there. And let's see what that does. That is a very nice move down. Let's see if it carries on down to the next quarter theory and pitchfork, which is one of our favorite take profit levels. If you wanted to stay in all through that stall out, we wouldn't be in this long, because it's New York through to close of play. We don't stay in trades like that. But I'll just let it run to see, because I'm sure it'll go down. 62 still pushing it down. So it does, and then it comes back up to test the 15 minute. So we would have got in here down for 40 pips to that. You can see that retest again, back up to the 15 minutes. You've got to give up quite a lot. That's 18 pips to end. That's 12 to 18, down to 36. So that's one of those things where you look at the judgment on whether you're giving up 18 pips to make your 36, you know, where you're prepared to go back to the 50%, as Chance says. But if you stayed in that for 1 hour 30, then you're down on a very nice move to 70 pips, 76 pips there. And then there's no way any of us would have still been in, I don't suggest. Right through 15 hours. I mean, what on earth for? You just wouldn't, because you've got that fantastic move there. So a huge, huge move there for 76 pips. Close of play, I would suggest you would not have bothered with that one, especially after having made all that profit there. You're done for 3 or 4 days of the week then. And then some more rejections here off the quarter theory, but above the 62, so you wouldn't want to get involved in that. And then not much room between that and the pitchfork. Just looking at the time. And then it's rejecting off the pitchfork quarter theory, 62. It's just all hugging along the 62, consolidating, end of market into Tokyo. 20 pip range or 50 pip maximum, not doing much. In the price trap area, did a break and a retest there. So here you've got here you've got another sell opportunity. You can see from that break and retest here. So you've got it coming, rejecting off the quarter theory, coming below the 62, below the pitchfork. So there's an entry here probably. I don't know what it does next. Let's see if that works. Yes, it does work. Works very nicely, that one. So that's given you 50 to 60, 50, 60, 70, nearly 80 pips. And that was only in, that's at open of New York. That's the crossover. And that was in 1 hour 55, 2 hours. Week's work in 2 hours. In the price trap, don't want to get involved in that. No, thank you very much. Not interested. Watching it reject the pitchfork. Up above quarter theory. Didn't give us much of a break and a retest. Hugging along the 62. This is Tokyo. Doesn't tend to do very much, and I'm asleep anyway. Down below, but didn't get a break. Got a break and a retest, but we're on the extensions. We're below the 62. Don't want to get involved in that. Drops even more. We're outside this scan now. Don't want to get involved in any of this if we're discussing the scan. Back into Tokyo. Still along quarter theory and the 62. That's where price will always go back to hug the 62. Break and retest of quarter theory there. 62 coming up above into our extensions. So we'll be looking at buys. 62 coming up very nicely. Comes up into, so here we've got an entry because we've got a break and a retest of pitchfork. We're above the quarter theory. It's the inner fib and L. We like that. Let's see what that does. For a buy. Up to quarter theory, and that's, oh, that's this afternoon. We were in this situation last week, weren't we? Oh, sorry, thought that was today. So that didn't give us, stop. That didn't give us very much, did it? Yes, it did, because I'm on the 5 minute. That gave us 35 pips in, but that's close of market, so I wouldn't really like to be trading at that time in a few hours. I'm not too keen on that, but there was a trade there. And then London again, London break and retest, but you've got quarter theory quite close to it. Probably could have entered there, but not much of a break and a retest. Quarter theory trade, possibly. Another break and retest up to there. So depending on your analysis here, I'll put it on, but it's sort of one I probably would have looked at closely at the time. Strong upward thrust there above the 62. You've had a break and a retest and above the 62, and you're above, you've cleared the pitchfork and the quarter theory, you're above the 62. So I think potentially you probably would have got into that one. Up to there, there's 80 pips on that. Hugging along the 62, close of market. Tokyo tends not to do very much even on the fast pairs, 20 pips on average, just pitchfork and quarter theory. So there's a break and a retest to the buy side, but it doesn't do much, and then a break and a retest to the downside. Oh, beautiful, beautiful trade here. Quarter theory pitchfork, 62, slight fake out at the 3 o'clock UK time to the upside. Fantastic entry there. Down below the 62, no need to get out of the trade, stalls out quite a lot. possibly would have been out by now because it's late, it's New York, it's end of day. Would certainly not have been in all that lot, and you would have got your 1 hour 40, you would have got 47 pips or so there. So that was a super duper trade, that one. Hugging along the 62, Tokyo, not our favorite time to trade. It's the slowest session out of the three. Dip down to the 15-minute, hugging along the 62.25 theory into London. Not doing much in London this time, surprisingly. New York dips to the 15-minute, hugs along the 62.25 theory. Still really low volume, sort of stalling out. I mean, it is slowly going up. There's Tokyo again. Green one is Tokyo for me. So between the 62.25 theory, dipping down into London. There's another trade opportunity here, it looks like. Break and retest of quarter theory. See if it sticks to it. No, it doesn't. Didn't really do it for us. It's gone on up. So here you might have got a bit caught here. Break and retest below the 62. Drawn your downward trend. You've seen it's all stalling out. But you probably would have got out at break even or a few pips lost, because once it broke through quarter theory, you'd know actually, although here it's a break and a retest here again. So maybe this example, it doesn't do it the first time, it does it the second time. So there's a 20 pip break and retest there, and below quarter theory in the 62. So this may well be a good setup for a sell. Back up to quarter theory, back up to quarter theory along the 62. It can't break above quarter theory all the way. Oh, it's close of market as well. So that's why the wrong time of day. Tokyo, same thing again. Quarter theory, 62. Break and a retest down to the 15 minutes. So it does move down in London, then moves up again. So break and a retest, did that down to the 15-minute, but there's the outer Fibonacci's again. Not really much of a move, I don't think, but you could have, how many pips is that? That did give you would have got 29, you could have got your 20 pips there. So then what have we got? And now we go up, and we're buying a break and a retest up here. That's 20 pips almost, touching the 62. Got a bit of a price trap going on here though. Need to be wary of that. So you could have possibly got in there, how many was that? That gave you just about the 20 pips. So there's a break and a retest there with an upper thrust. And chance, that's what I've learned from him recently, that he counts that. So you could have got in there and you would have got 20 pips above your 62, big thrusting candle up, and then that next one up to make sure you don't get trapped back in there. And here we are pushing down in New York to close of play. There we are into Tokyo again. Not much happening there, we don't like that. Pitchfork and quarter theory and the 62 just sidling along. So there was a bit of a trade here, depending on what that break was. That magnet off might help. $16 pips. So after it had done that, 62.25 theory, you could have got in there. If you hadn't got in there, that's you might not have got in till there. That still gave you about 30 pips here. even if you hadn't got into that. There's another trade. Quarter theory, 62, breaks above, but not much. Didn't give us much time to think about that one. Might have done on closer analysis. In the price trap, 62 pushing it up strongly, break and a retest is another trade entry once it's above there. Here, strongly above the 62, nice little quarter theory, pitchfork and 62 all in our, stopping us between our entry price and our test of quarter theory and our stop loss above the 62, carries on to quarter theory and pitchfork holding it. Look at the time of day, that's why you've got all this stall out. Not a brilliant time of day to take the trade, because probably wouldn't have taken that because of time of day, all that stall out. But that's 50 pips while you're into London. Carries on up, break and retest up there, does a break and retest down. So there is the next entry, New York crossover, lovely entry there. Down to the pitchfork, rejects off, 62 shoves it down, sits in the price trap, close of market, open of Tokyo, below the 62, not doing very much, hugging the 15-minute. Could have possibly got a trade here, but you'd have all that stall out. So a quite big break and retest, probably wouldn't have wanted to get involved in that. And then up to the pitchfork in a price trap, so you wouldn't want to get involved in this area here. Into New York, is it going to carry on up? Break and retest, give us a buy. No, it comes down, it's in the price trap. No trade, no trade. End of market, no trade, no trade. Tokyo, no trade, no trade. Is it going to give us a buy with a break and a retest? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Comes down, comes straight down. So you'd have to catch this one. It doesn't really give you the retest, but it's a strong downward momentum. It suddenly drops. So possibly you would have caught that one, but you didn't really get the retest. But it does do about 50 pips and it carries on down. Now we're into New York. Notice that it never crossed for the sell though on that 62. It's still in buy mode. Testing the 15-minute. Now it's selling. Now it's selling, but it's crossed over. Again, it didn't give you a break and a retest. That's the only thing. But it did cross over. And a very nice entry point with a quarter theory and pitchfork, but we're down in the Fibonacci. We're on the outer end of it. Drops out of the scan. Don't want to get involved in that. Wouldn't be involved in that. I think I might finish this one in a minute. I've probably done enough of this one. So same thing again, break and a retest back to the 62 and the quarter theory. And then you've got up to 50 pips there, depending on the length of time you're in. I suppose it's a bit of an unusual one in that we're not always putting the pitchfork with a quarter theory because of the size of it. And I think I might stop it there because we've probably done enough. So let's just go back on the hourly and have a look at that to finish off, see what it looks like. So in fact, we haven't even reached it completing the scan, have we? So where am I up to? Oh, I'd almost, ironically, I was almost up to finishing where we were anyway. So looking at the trades you could have taken off that so far, since it started on the 22nd of June. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 we found. I don't know why we didn't find so many more there. It's a bit strange, but you get the general idea. I hope that repetition showed you. Perhaps next time I'll find a smaller scan with just like 20 pips between the pitchforks. So we're not looking at quarter theory as well. But I think it's very interesting. You can see when GBP USD moves at the beginning of London, beginning of New York, and that you don't really want to be involved in it late in New York, particularly midnight to 2 a.m. that black period, which is Sydney, and then the Tokyo session is much smaller pips, as we know. So I'm just going to stop sharing. Don't think we've got anything in the chat. Sorry, I've got to run. Thanks so much. Really useful. That's absolutely fine. I know we've gone on for a bit. So I hope you found that useful. Unless anyone's got any questions, I'll call it a day. And remember, on Monday evening, I'm doing coffee, cocktails, chat, cheerleading, and Corona, as in beer, not virus. Team Zoom. See how it goes at 6 p.m. UK time, so we can bond and get to know each other and just have a laugh and a bit of banter. I'm just trying it out. So, you know, we've got people in America, Portugal, Belgium, Germany, Greece. So I don't know if it'll work, but I'm always happy to sit and drink beer. And I hope you have a nice weekend. Bye.